I used to think marriage stood firmly on three pillars: trust, honesty, and loyalty. For a long time, I was certain my wife and I had created something unshakable. We shared laughter. We talked endlessly about our future. When hardships came, we faced them together, shoulder to shoulder. But gradually, subtle fractures appeared. She began coming home later than usual, explaining it away with stories about business dinners and evenings out with friends. In the beginning, I chose to believe her. That's what a good husband does, I told myself. I convinced myself she was simply busy, maybe stressed, and I refused to become the jealous man who questions every step his wife takes. Still, there was a persistent feeling in my stomach that something wasn't right. An unease I couldn't completely silence. The warning signs multiplied until ignoring them became impossible. She treated her phone as if it contained state secrets, smiling at incoming messages and instantly locking the screen whenever I walked in. The scent of her perfume lingered on her clothes long past the hour she claimed to have returned. More often than not, she headed straight for the shower as soon as she got home, as though she were trying to rinse away the entire evening. Even then, I accused myself of wrongdoing for doubting her. I believed suspicion was a betrayal in itself. That conviction lasted until the night I decided to trust my instincts instead of my excuses. She told me she was meeting a friend for drinks. Instead of staying home, I parked near the bar and waited inside my car, watching. When I saw her in another man's embrace, his arms wrapped around her, her lips pressed against his with a passion I once believed belonged only to me, something inside me collapsed. In that instant, everything we had built felt like a fabrication. Every memory, every shared joke, every plan for tomorrow suddenly seemed like part of an elaborate deception. I drove back without turning on the radio, trapped between fury and heartbreak. By the time I reached the house, I understood I had two options: confront her the second she walked through the door, or allow her to return unsuspecting and reveal herself without realizing it. That was when the thought of revenge entered my mind. Not revenge fueled by violence or shouting, but something quieter, something deliberate. I wanted her to climb into our bed believing her secret was secure, only to discover that I already knew the truth. I stayed up preparing. I printed the photographs I had taken, images of her kissing him, embracing him, walking hand in hand like careless teenagers. Each photo captured the reality she had tried to hide, the double life she had been living behind my back. I placed them carefully on her pillow, exactly where her head would rest. Beside them, I left a note with 5 simple words. I know it's over now. My hands shook as I set everything in place. Yet beneath the trembling, there was an unexpected calmness. The truth no longer belonged to the shadows. I didn't need to raise my voice. The images and the message would speak clearly enough. Hours later, I heard the key slide into the lock. My pulse quickened, not out of affection, but anticipation. She entered quietly, assuming I was asleep. I feigned soft snores while she changed and slipped beneath the blankets, just as she had done countless nights before. But this night was different. When her hand reached for the pillow, her fingers brushed against the papers. I sensed her hesitation as she picked them up, the faint light from her phone illuminating the room. The sharp gasp that escaped her mouth shattered the silence. Her breathing grew uneven as she studied each photograph, understanding that every lie had been documented. Then she read the note. I felt her body go rigid beside me, trembling under the weight of exposure. She whispered my name, her voice cracking. I kept my eyes closed, allowing her to sit with the reality she had created. For once, she was the one uncertain of what would happen next. At last, I opened my eyes. The expression on her face is something I will never forget. Wide, drained of color, desperate. Please, she said shakily. It's not what it looks like. The predictable defense. I nearly laughed. The evidence rested in her hands, undeniable. I sat up slowly and met her stare with a steadiness that disturbed her more than anger ever could. You came back to this bed as if nothing happened, I said calmly, but you overlooked one thing. I already knew. She reached toward me, but I moved away. The distance between us felt permanent, like a wall that could never be torn down. She pleaded through tears, claiming it was a mistake, insisting her love for me was real. Her words sounded hollow, like rehearsed dialogue from a poorly written play. I told her what she didn't want to accept. Love doesn't hide in the dark. Love doesn't rely on deception. Love doesn't look like him. With every sentence, she seemed smaller, collapsing under her own guilt. Her desperation intensified, but my determination solidified. In that moment, I understood that our marriage had reached its end. I rose from the bed, picked up the small suitcase I had packed earlier, and headed for the door. She grabbed my arm in an attempt to stop me, but I gently freed myself. This house, this bed, this life, we created it together, I told her. But you destroyed it the second you chose him over me. Her sobbing echoed behind me as I walked away. I didn't look back. For the first time, I wasn't the one shattered. I was reclaiming control, holding on to my self-respect, and leaving with dignity. The following morning, she called repeatedly. She sent message after message. She even appeared at my workplace. I ignored every effort. The photographs I left behind had already said everything. There was no conversation left to have. She returned to our bed believing she could maintain two separate lives. Instead, she found my answer waiting. Not rage, not chaos, just truth laid bare. And sometimes, the cold edge of truth cuts deeper than anything else. In the end, she lost me and I gained my freedom.